Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out AtomWorks by developer Martian Made Games. A very simple concept, I think you guys are going to grasp it right away. Kind of plays a little bit like an abstract golf game with particle physics, if that makes sense. Whether or not it does, we're going to explain it and it's going to be pretty simple. So let's look at the about before we get into things here. The developer was kind enough to actually provide a timeline of development, which I really appreciate. You don't see this kind of thing too often, and I think it's actually really useful for getting an idea where exactly you are in the scope of what the developer is looking to do long term. So, you know, we can see where we are. We're between web version 1.0 and sandbox mode. I don't know exactly what sandbox mode entails, but I like that we've got a web version 1.0, so it means we got something to play and talk about. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and we'll load level 1 up. And let's get it going. So, the demonstration down at the bottom is indicating that we would click on the circle, the little dot is going to be released, and then we click again to make the dot explode, and then the momentum from that dot will carry our ball here, or atom, or whatever we want to call it, onto the finish area. So, bam, just like that. And as it gets near whatever we're calling the goal, it actually starts to like exude these weird little edges that kind of pull the ball in, which is kind of neat. There's also it's telling me I can click for a menu. There's our menu. Lovely design. Everything looks very nice. So the other thing is we can actually use the number keys on the keyboard. They correspond with the buttons on the left side of the screen, so you can choose to click or use buttons, whichever one feels better for you. And I'm going to choose to use a keyboard so you don't have a mouse pointer in the way. And so we're going to use the angles and trajectory of these particles to try and push the ball towards the goal. And like I said, it's kind of like a very simple abstract golf game, but it's got some moments that change things up a little bit, and I think that's part of the developer's long-term prospectus here is going to be various styles of gameplay, and you'll see later there's actually like another augmentation to how firing works, I guess we can call it. I don't know if that's the right terminology. We're firing a shot, though, so, you know, that kind of makes sense. Alright, so now we're going to try and do a little tricky move here. We're going to try and use sort of billiard-style strategies where we're going to explode in reverse direction to then use that angle to project things forward. And we only have a certain amount of shots, by the way. The levels are kind of subdivided up. So we're still on level 1, but right now we're on level 1-3. And we get a certain amount of shots, or it'll tell us this very soon anyway. We'll get a certain amount of shots to carry us through the entire set of sub-levels, and if we fail any one of the groups by running out of shots, we will be sent back to the beginning of that grouping of levels. So, you know, it's kind of something to keep things a little bit in check. Otherwise, it could be a little too easy or something like that. Or you'd just be going for high scores, which there's nothing wrong with that either. So now we're going to use 2 here, and we've got some angled walls we need to take consideration of. What can happen is if you get a little too overzealous, you end up overshooting the goal, and then you might end up just burning a bunch of shots, not really accomplishing much of anything. And this is where they're trying to get you to think a little bit harder about your strategies for what you're intending to do, because obviously here you're going to have to use the same shot port to hit both directions. So we're going to use 5, and then we're going to explode, let that bounce off the floor, and then once it gets high enough, we should be able to just repeat until we get to the goal, and it should only hopefully take the one more shot because it will start to pull me in, as I've said in the past. Also, really great soothing music that goes along with it. There's not much in the way of sound effects implemented just yet, and I think that actually that could go a long way to making the game even a little bit more polished, but right now, since it's not entirely finished, I don't have any qualms. The music is very nice. I kind of wish that there was like a shot sound, but again, I'm sure that'll happen later. And the ricocheting sound, I kind of hear like a little tink-tink, like glass bouncing off of things in my mind. And there's actually parts where it sort of seems like the level unfolds a little bit like origami. I would love it if there was like a little latticey kind of tick-ticking happening as that all kind of unfurls, if that makes sense. But again, that very well may be in the works. Alright, so we're starting level 3-1. We've got 20 shots for this. And if I remember correctly, these weren't particularly difficult until we get a little bit further in, and then there starts to be a few more challenging little caveats to how this whole formula is going to work. Alright, so we're going to go past this. And this is designed in mind for like touchscreen gaming, so this will eventually be coming out on phones and such. But for now, since we've got a web version, I was more than happy to try this out. It seems like the type of thing that I could see myself playing all the way through, provided the challenges don't get so punishing and frustrating that I end up just, you know, frustrated in general and maybe I don't want to keep going or something. And by the way, in case you end up running the ball into the shot areas, those will just act as like a buffer and they'll bounce the ball away from you. Because otherwise you get into a bit of a difficult spot, considering like there's not much you can do if the ball goes beyond the point where you can shoot at it. I mean, I guess you could try and nudge it out or something. See, look how cool that is. The chunks of the level sort of fall away into the ether, and we're left with a spacescape in the background. I would love if there was a little dynamic action going on back there as well. But the point of this is to let you know that if you fall off, well, you can fall off, I guess is kind of the thing, and you'll lose a shot if that happens. Or you'll at least lose the ball and have to use your shot again, so kind of resetting your progress, which could be unfortuitous. So if we're a little bit on the accurate side, this should only take a couple. I'm surprised there's no par for each area. It kind of seems like the type of thing where they could give you like a ranking based on how you did for each zone, and then kind of give you how you fall into the whole premise of the major part of the level, the meta level, as it were. Okay, so we're going to try and bounce backward towards the front of the screen here. Might take a couple shots. I want to try and line it up maybe with one, that way I can get a pretty substantial hit. Sort of like a break in billiards or something, and get it, you know, extra close and hit it extra hard. And that should get us below the subdividing point. Not quite all the way, though. Okay, well, we'll use 4 here. Give it a big old nudge. I could also see maybe some, like, very slight dynamic stuff happening in the field as well. Maybe the areas that act as buffers, you know, the dividing lines, like this white area here. Okay, that was kind of a strange move that I just did. Maybe things could be flickering on those, or there could be, like, little color gradients happening, or, you know, just various little animations just to give the world a little bit more feeling of life. Not that it's 100% necessary, because right now it's nice in that it's not particularly distracting or anything. The game is kind of pure in that sense, but I always like to see refinement in things, and, well, maybe it's just a personal thing. Alright, that should hopefully do it, as long as I didn't overshoot. I may have. I wish golf actually had, like, a little black hole to suck the ball in, so you don't have to feel bad when you slightly miss a putt or something. Alright, so this is where we get into a new level here. So we've got, what it wants us to do is hold spacebar down, which is going to trip like an activation mechanism, and then we can hit both 4 and 6 at the same time, and then when we release spacebar, that's going to release both of those at the same time. So we want to try and pop them in just such a way that it should hopefully trigger the ball to get all the way to the goal. If I leave it alone long enough, I think it will actually get sucked in, yep, just via that little bit of orbit there. I love the way that the lighting looks on everything, too. It's got this really subtle reflectivity to it. I mean, I guess you can really only see that evidence in, like, this corner of the ball and when the stage falls away a little bit, but it does do a favor for the presentation quality. I think it's definitely quite attractive looking and polished to a degree that's, like, requires a bunch of work, but also isn't maybe crazy over the top in terms of, like, graphical effects or anything like that. That was maybe not the best move I could have done. Maybe we'll just try and hit it really hard with 6. Alright, yeah, the closer you are when you let go, the faster the ball's going to move. And that was a bad move, because I couldn't actually explode it fast enough. We're going to try and bounce via 2 off 1. So we're going to do one of those. Oh, okay, it didn't bounce. It actually just kind of got stuck up against the 1 trigger, and now I've kind of doomed myself. Okay, I think I should be able to get some trajectory now, and I might waste most of my shots. I could have gotten a little bit closer on that one. And we want to kind of bounce a little bit down so I can maybe get up above it, never down in it. There's your 9 Inch Nails reference for the day. Yeah, this is going to be tricky. I could try and use 2, I guess, to try and get it to bounce up and off the corner a little bit, and then do one of these, and hopefully that'll make it connect. Don't overshoot it, and... oh, did I no, I think it's going to pull it back in, and we're good. Very nice. So that's going to get us to level 5, and I think this is about where I'm going to wrap up the video. Keep it fairly short on this one, because the premise is pretty understandable. I don't think there's too much really necessary to go over. It's not a particularly complex game in general. I missed the timing on that. It doesn't actually take a shot away from me, though, which is very considerate. Apparently I missed it again. I really thought I did get it that time, though. I guess I could just spam shots on it or something. But I like that they're still introducing concepts, and it's not necessarily like we're just going for super hard at this point. A lot of games tend to have a kind of a weird difficulty curve when it comes to that, and I kind of appreciate that we're taking a little at a time, getting better and better as we go, and then trying to manipulate the stages and make the level design be a little bit more interesting is kind of neat as well. But anyway, that's going to be it for this one. Make sure you go check it out. There will be a link. This game is totally free. You can play this prototype version, or whatever we're calling it, in your browser, so you don't even have to worry about downloading a file or anything. It is freely available for you. And hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider both coming back and leaving a like, because those both help me out substantially. And I hope to see you back for another one tomorrow. And of course, all of my other social media links are going to be right in the description. So if you're interested in finding out more about the series, or if maybe you want to follow my Steam Curator page, there's going to be a link for that as well, so you can get recommendations right in your Steam client about games that I've been interested in lately. So I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic night.